But yeah, this guy, Rob, he's like, I'm not doing this activity, kind of like that. The next guy's like, I'm not doing it either. I'm like, okay, this is like quickly railroaded. And you think Canadians are so nice. I wasn't going in uber curious anymore. Like when I first started, I was so curious and I was learning a lot. But after 250 episodes, it's like you kind of hear the same things. My probably crutch is I use content to figure it out. I just use content to navigate that because I don't know. But I can't sit still and mull over it. For me, that is not an approach. I would just get lost. Why would you just put some junk together, put your name on it? It's embarrassing. I mean, I've seen people just like get podcast transcripts and throw them together. That's not a book, I don't think. But other people are more about like, tell me like how can I hack the algorithm? How can I cold outreach? There are two different types of people, and the second group kind of tick me off. To be honest, I actually have a really good friend who I spoke to today, and he is in that group. Like he does a lot of.
Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to the Solo Sauce podcast. My name is Joeri, and on this show, I have honest conversations with people who work for themselves. Today's episode, I am joined by Leanne Hughes, who is a business consultant and author and the host of the First Time Facilitator podcast. Leanne helps people design engagements and workshops that don't make people want to leave the room within the first half hour. We talked about how a disastrous workshop in Canada accidentally launched her career, why building a community can become your biggest asset, and how content, a podcast, and even a book can open doors you never knew existed. I'll be back at the end with some of my thoughts and maybe some questions for you, but for now, enjoy my conversation with Leanne Hughes.
Hi, my name's Leanne. I'm a business consultant, which means many different things to many different people. And don't worry, I haven't figured out what it means either. I was working for a large mining company. The price of resources was really low at the time. And so we couldn't afford to bring external consultants in to deliver our leadership programs. So my manager tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, can you run the program in Canada?" I said, yes, even though, again, I had no idea how to do this. I mean, I knew a lot about leadership, but I've never run a multi-day workshop before. So that was my first gig. But when I was in Canada running the workshop, halfway through, I completely screwed up. A few participants just refused to do stuff. And I was like, what the heck do you do now? So that side of the podcast, I got back to Australia. I rang up every facilitator friend and was like, what would you have done if this was you? And that became the First Time Facilitator podcast, which then kind of blew up, built an audience, got a book off the back of it. And a lot of my early work and work to this day is about like, how do you create engaging workshop experiences? I wouldn't say it's my core thing, but it's how I built my brand.
Yeah, nice. And so you said that first workshop, this was in Canada. And did people leave the room? Is that what you just said?
No, but we were running an activity and everyone had to sort of get up. And as I even think about the activity, I would never even run it now at that time, but I had no idea back then how to set up, group dynamics and trust. But yeah, this guy, Rob, he's like, I'm not doing this activity, kind of like that. And so I went to the next bloke, because this is like all blokes. It was all men, and the next guy's like, I'm not doing it either. I'm like, okay, this is like quickly railroaded. And you think Canadians are so nice, but my worst workshop experience was over there. But I was very junior and yeah, I did everything the wrong way now that I know a bit more.
How did you feel at that moment? Because I can imagine that's a massive...
I wanted to quit my job. I wanted to
Yeah.
fly home to Australia. I didn't want to go back. I had to go back to that same group the next day. I was jet lagged. I was like hating life, but I did it.
It's even worse having to go back the next day. Go, hi, me again. I know you guys didn't want to play along yesterday. Let's try it again today.
Exactly. Yeah. You've nailed it, Joeri. That's exactly how I felt.
Was this your first client?
Well, first time facilitating for something like that, like with a big organization. So I was an internal employee, but yeah.
Oh, quick one. If you're enjoying this, I would really appreciate it if you just left a little like or a comment or even share this with somebody who should really tune into this one. Anyway, let's get back to the episode.
It was the first sort of big gig. And then option 1 was like, quit, don't do this anymore. Option 2 was actually like, figure it out. And I'm glad I picked option 2.
I hope you managed to redeem yourself. And you clearly have, because you set up a very successful podcast. You've launched a book off the back of that. What was something... I guess that would be a good... Would that be a good turning point? I guess like a key turning point in your career somewhere at that moment?
That was the key turning point. Because I think we're like, we got to, you always got to be successful, but and it's so cliche about learning more from the moments where you failed. But I've totally flopped in that moment, but that was the watershed. That kicked it all off. I mean, there's also other moments, like someone that introduced me to podcasting. I didn't even know that was a medium, but that completely changed my life because I was so busy I couldn't read books, but I could listen to podcasts on my commute to work. And so I think when those two sort of worlds collided, with me starting my own podcast, then yeah, that was a turning point as well.
It made sense. Your podcast, by the way, when I was on your podcast, this is during the good old Corona days, that was one of the first ones I was ever on. And we talked about facilitation. I think I talked about facilitating innovation. I think that was kind of
Yeah.
my topic, of course. You have done how many episodes at this point?
I don't over 250, and of my daily podcast this year, 301.
Why did you change to the daily podcast?
Because I think I'm more than facilitation, and I wasn't going in uber curious anymore. Like when I first started, I was so curious and I was learning a lot. But after 250 episodes, it's like you kind of hear the same things. And so it's difficult. It's hard for me then to be like super curious and interested. And I'm like, I've heard, and like not the same thing, but just packaged up in different ways. And yeah, I definitely think I'm more than facilitations. The daily podcast was all about every day I have like hundreds of ideas. I write them down on my phone. They don't go anywhere. And so I was like, well, let's just get one idea a day out into the world. At least it's parked there and I can go back and be like, oh, I've forgotten so many episodes I've recorded. But I've now got an asset now of just like, oh, great. These cool phrases and ideas are there.
Do you ever listen back to an episode?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think it was a really good episode. So it's like,
Yeah.
that was a really good idea.
That was good.
I like that. As shameless as that is, I'm like, it's nice when it's a good idea. Sometimes with an interview, I don't like in a 30-minute interview, you're not 100% present. You're kind of there, but you're kind of leading people on. And so sometimes I listen back to a podcast and go, oh, that's what they said about that. And I didn't even double click on it in the moment. So for interviews are a bit different, but solo episodes, I mean, most of them I don't listen back to. It's only when, yeah, I just want to maybe hear myself riff on that, or I want to expand an idea and I want to go back to what I said originally to expand on it.
What was it like hearing your voice for the first time? Because I think what stops a lot of
I
people
didn't.
from creating any kind of content is just hearing themselves or seeing themselves.
First time facilitator, I didn't listen to like the first 20 episodes. I had to a little bit because I was editing it myself in GarageBand, but I was just like, this is horrific. It is horrific listening to yourself. You don't sound the way that you think you sound. But I think that was the beauty of the podcast, the unintended side benefit. It's about facilitation, but hosting a podcast, you're building facilitation skills because it's all about the question, leading it on, answering, active listening, all of that.
What makes you a great facilitator?
I don't think I'm a great facilitator. I would
Okay,
say
what
I'm
makes you a good
average.
facilitator? Okay, what makes you a good average facilitator?
I would say probably my strength, if I was to say my strength, would be the ability to connect concepts and ideas very quickly. If Andy would say something in the morning, then I can connect it to what Bob said I find it very easy to do that. And then that makes it really easy for people to understand where we're going with the content or the process. I think maybe my energy, I genuinely enjoy being around those groups of people. I think I'm a bit positive maybe, and a lot of people that I work with have lost hope.
Yeah.
And so I kind of bring that spark in, I would say.
Well, you definitely a spark. I think one of your best things is not only sparking ideas, which I think you do very well. I think you're very good at bringing people together. You have a community online called the Flip Chart. How did you get started on that, and how's that going?
Yeah, I think I just heard. I think Pat Flynn was talking about the importance of community ages ago, like back in 2019. I thought, well, I've had a few listeners email me, and I was like, okay, there's people actually listening to this because you see stats, and you don't really think there's real people, and then you think, well, this isn't right. Just getting getting a response. Like, how do we get people talking together? So yeah, very early on, I just put the flip chart out there as a forum for people to share ideas, and it's grown. For the first part, I was in there all the time, like trying to get it working. Now I've definitely stepped back from it. I'm very, I would say absent from the group, but I do check on it from time to time. But we've had meetups in person. I'm amazed that people are still joining and contributing there. So yeah, the flip chart's great. If you're trying to build a creator brand or a personal brand, community is everything. It's the biggest asset that you can have.
Well, because I think a lot of people listening to this do want to build some kind of community. At some point, they'll go, let's build a community. I think
Mm.
sometimes for the wrong reasons. I think too many people step into it going, I'm going to build a community because I get 1,000 people to spend $50 a month on it. I'll be rich. Should you think in a commercial way about a community, or should it start elsewhere?
I think you definitely have to be mindful. I mean, yeah, going in, is it a hobby or is it something that you want to generate revenue from? I think commerciality is important if you're in business. So yes, I would say that's important. But I think it's like what's going to galvanize the community? And I think the important thing that I did very early on was like, what are we on a mission here to do? What's this collective on a mission here to do? And I still stick to it to this day. It's we're on a mission to stamp out boring workshops forever. And so you have that mission, people galvanize around it. But I think that's where people fall flat is it, I want to build a community because it's self-serving and it's going to be great for me. But it's like, well, what are you offering? Like, what's the value proposition for people there? And what's the mission? Who's your enemy?
But you have quite a few people in there. Right? You have a couple of thousand people in there, just for people to understand how big this is. What's the tipping point? Because I know somebody who has a small community of, honestly, I think 12 people or something, with a higher ticket price, and somebody else has a community with a lot more people. What's the tipping point at some point? At what point do you have to like do things a little bit differently for your community?
Well, this has always been a free community. I actually think having more people has not been good because, like the bystander effect, the more people you have in a community, the less likely someone is going to respond. Like it's more anonymous, is what I mean. I'm always tempted to be like, just chuck, like, nail it down back to 2,000 people and just throw people out that haven't engaged for a while, almost like that. But it's not on the priority list. If you talk about that way, I've got many different communities. I've got a red carpet camp out community of 10 people in a WhatsApp group. I've got many different subsets. The turning point, I don't know. I feel like once it hit over 1,500, then it started getting a little bit more. People were just there, I've got a question, but not really responding to other people's questions. Like people just go, oh, I've got a question, help me out. But it's like, well, you expect help, but are you offering help?
Have you ever had to kick somebody out because they were doing weird stuff?
Spam, yes, but I think they weren't even real people. That was spam bots, so that was
Spam
easy.
bots, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Not somebody who really breached, who pissed you off so
No,
much. They were
no
like,
one's really
no,
breached anything. And sometimes if they do breach, I'll just send them a note and just be like, hey.
please don't do that anymore. Nice.
Yeah.
You also, you also have a book,
Mhm.
2-hour workshop. Tell me more about that.
The 2-Hour Workshop Blueprint. Yes, I wrote that in 2023, but I just wanted to be an author. So I'm like, what can I write that's going to help people out and get me the identity of author? And the lowest hanging fruit was, well, I've recorded all these podcasts about workshops. I've got the community, write a book on how to run a workshop. So that's the book. And it's not written for fellow facilitators or people that are already in the game, even though they find it helpful. It's written for Jo that is in finance. She needs to run a lunch and learn in 2 weeks. She's like, how the heck do I do it? That's the book. So it's a very prescriptive formula. You follow it, you have an amazing workshop at the end.
Why 2 hours?
Well, the name is everything. Inspired by Nick Gray's book, The 2-Hour Cocktail Party, is what it was inspired by. What I love about it is like 2 hours. If you can run a 2-hour workshop, you can run a 1-hour workshop, you can run an all-day workshop. It's just the same kind of methodology, but you just kind of expand time. But 2 hours makes it palatable for someone to read. I went to my Flipchart Facebook group and I was searching for all the questions people were asking. And the questions were, I'm running a 2-hour workshop on this. There were like 20 questions. I was like, okay, that's the most common time. Let's run with that. And I honestly had this surgeon a retired surgeon in the UK. She's super famous for her work with breast cancer. And she's like, oh, I was running a 2-hour workshop. So I went on Amazon and your book was there. It's like it was a perfect title for the problem that people were looking for.
Nice. So you were the exact solution to a very specific problem that people
Very,
had.
yeah.
What else has come out of the book? Because again, like with community, I think many people are listening going like, I should write a book. I told myself that once, like maybe I should write a book. I asked myself that once, but I'm not so sure anymore.
I mean, still, I can't believe I'm saying yes. I've had people that they're like, listen to every single episode of your podcast, but it was only when I read your book that I decided to hire you for our company
What's the
event. I was like,
difference? Does it, because is a book that hard, first of all? And what does it do? What's the magic
a
of a
book is
book?
hard because a book is very hard, actually. So when you're on audio and when you're podcasting, it's long form. You can like work your way through. People are listening. With a book, it's completely self-directed. So you got to really can tighten that narrative and really think about what is crucial here. How do I get people engaged? How do I get them to bookmark every second? Yeah, it requires a lot more thinking. If it's a good book. I mean, I've seen people just like get podcast transcripts and throw them together. That's not a book, I don't think.
Does it have to be a good book?
That depends on your values. Yeah. So I would
No, because
say,
look,
well,
there's
what
some crap
judges,
books out there,
there's so
and
many
there are
crap books.
people.
But people put a lot of effort into writing that crap book. But a crap book could be packaged up and it could be a great book, but it's not perceived as great in the market because of the title or the cover. So there's so many different elements to it. And what you mark as success. But why would you just put some junk together, put your name on it? It's embarrassing.
I would not be surprised if right now with ChatGPT, somebody just goes for, I need to have a book. And then with ChatGPT, they write a generic book about, let's say, leadership or business,
Yeah.
which you can honestly put together within a day, I would say.
Like Mel Robbins says, let them. But do you want to actually I mean, like you said, you asked about like the book. It's opened so many doors, the amount of work I've gotten as a result of it. I was flown to New York to run some 2-hour workshops. I run a ton of 2-hour workshop webinars. It's my favorite time. Like I like running a 2-hour workshop. Like people just reach out all the time and say, hey, I've used your book. So write a good book.
Door opener. What am I going to write a book about? My caps, glasses, and hair. Don't know
I
yet.
like it.
I honestly don't know. I've not thought about this at all. I don't know. I don't know if that's a topic. It's maybe it's what I've been doing for the last so many years. I might have a point of view, but I might want it to be. I don't know. I have no idea. I'll have a think about.
I think where I got stuck, Joeri, it's probably where you're getting stuck because everyone was like, oh, write the book for who you want to become. And I didn't really know who I wanted to become. And so the other point of view is, hey, just write a book that packages up everything you've learned on this topic. And that was a lot easier.
You know, the funny thing about that is my friend wrote that book. So everything I wanted to know about facilitation for innovation, my friend wrote that book, and I looked at it, I go like, that's exactly what I would put together. Which is funny, and he's done it, and he's done a brilliant job at it. So good for him.
Yeah, but there's a
Getting
million
to do
different
something
takes
else.
a million different spins.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You talked about you're setting up a podcast, writing a book, going to Nepal, traveling to New York for your work. You busy bee you. What's the side of working for yourself that nobody sees?
The people, I mean, you nailed it. People are like, oh, busy, but I actually have a lot of downtime. I think people have that perception because I'm so prolific with my content, like, every single day in the podcast and weekly on Substack and everything else. And actually, obviously doing the work. But the reason I can do these fitness goals is because I put that time into it. I'm not always high energy. I think people expect me to be like, I'm not always like this, but I definitely know when it's showtime or, I know the impact of brand. And so I want to be there for people. You might look at me and think, oh, I've got my stuff together, my shit together. And I'm still trying to figure out who I want to be, what I'm doing. Am I doing the right thing? I'm constantly asking myself that. So my probably crutch is I use content to figure it out. I just use content to navigate that because I don't know. But I can't sit still and mull over it. For me, that is not an approach. I would just get lost.
I love that you're using content to test ideas, because I do the same. I just throw things
Yeah.
against the wall and see what happens. And when it comes to being busy, I wrote in a newsletter the other day that I don't like saying I'm busy. I used to say I'm busy. And now I stopped saying I'm busy because I'm not. I'm just more deliberate with my time. I say no to a lot of things
Yeah, good.
so that I can say a bigger, more convinced yes to others, because I'm a people pleaser. So I like to say yes first, and then later on I go, why did I say yes to that one? So I start saying no more, or I'll just go like, I'll get back to you later this week. Just give myself some time.
That's really good. Yeah, I'm the same as you. Oh, well, I always get excited. Like, honestly, genuinely in the moment, I'm saying yes because I'm genuinely interested. But then I'm like, oh, actually, what was that, Leanne?
Got too many things on my plate. So where does your
Yeah.
focus come from then? For me, it's like, post-its and just kind of task of the day, task of the week. I try to force it a bit.
Exactly the same. I don't know. Oh, Dan Coe. Do you know Dan Coe? I was reading, he did this brilliant Substack note about busyness and he talked about successful people and I screenshot it because I'm like, I think I identify with this. But it's like most of the time we're just in our own minds. Like I'm out running, I'm thinking, I'm stewing over things, da da da. And then when it comes to execution, like I've done all of the work up here. So the execution for me is rapid and it's easy because I'm not trying to figure out while I execute. It's like, oh, I've been playing around with this idea, bang. And so I can just get, 2 to 4 hours in the morning and get, I reckon, more done than the average person just because I've had that kind of time to think about it. But also, I don't have kids. Let's just be real. Like, I've got so many friends that have kids and are also doing this, and I don't know how they do it. Like, I have the space to be able to, and the bandwidth to think about things.
I don't have any kids either, as far as I know. Maybe somewhere in the world somebody's walking around. No, we don't have kids either, so that's definitely a bit of a luxury. But we all have 24 hours in a day. We fill them out differently. So I'm not going to pretend I know what it's like having kids around, or a mortgage to pay. Like, because my brother once told me this: says, you don't know how busy he is. He goes, I've got 2 kids, a mortgage to pay, full-time job. That's
I think
busy. Like, fair enough.
that is busy. That is, I don't know how they're doing it. It's incredible. Like, hats off.
Yeah, I often think about. I've got friends where one of the partners, so in a couple, where one of them does the kind of their own thing, like building their own little solopreneur business, and the other one doesn't. The other one has a job, like in my case, which really works for us. So
Yes.
knowing that Tremaine always goes like, look, I'll give you the whiteboard so you can play. I'll keep the job because I'm more comfortable in the job.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have the same at home.
Yes. Chris is exactly the same. Yeah. So he's got the steady job. He's not interested in entrepreneurialism. And it works. It totally works. It would be different. It would be interesting if you were with someone that was also entrepreneurial and yeah, I don't know how that would work. I mean, I've got no idea, but I think that's just our relationship. Like he's very steady and at pace, and I'm like kind of erratic and unsteady, risk taker.
If we had Chris here and I would say, hey, Chris, what does Leanne do? What would Chris say?
Talk shit is what he would say. Talk
Real?
shit. Oh, for sure. Gets paid to talk. Yeah. And that's awesome. That's what I want. I want to get paid to think and talk. That's the ultimate business model for me. I've written it down like, well, ultimate is to get paid to be yourself, but up there is getting paid to talk. Not shit, obviously, but yeah. If he was observing me, that's literally what I do. Don't you think? We think and we talk.
I don't think it's talk shit. I don't think it's talk shit.
Oh, that's a very Australian thing. Like that's an
I know. Just you talk stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a nice way of putting it. Hey, and if you can get paid for it, why not? I mean, that works. You're very. I mean, you say it quite casually, or we just talked about it in a very casual way. But one of the biggest things I think you do so much better than anybody else I've ever met is collaborate. Somehow you end up on people's radars, and somehow you do something with them. Where does that come from?
I have no idea. It just seems it's very natural. It's not really orchestrated or anything like that. Actually, I had a friend the other day. She's like, "Hey, how much have you paid Alan Weiss to be on that show with you?" And I'm like, "He suggested it. Like, I didn't even, So that's funny. That was the perception. I'm going to mention that to him on our call this week. But I don't know. Well, we collaborated. I mean, that was a natural thing. We were just voice note buddies, and I think I said to you, "Hey, we should do something here." With that Virtually Possible program. And that wasn't like, I'm going to put that on my 1-year strategy to connect with someone overseas and collaborate. It was just like, you notice opportunities with people and you think, we're not exactly the same. There's like different skill sets here. So why not? And these aren't like long-term partnerships. These are like, pop-up little partnerships. And I think it's fun. I definitely miss having colleagues around. And it's lovely to work on projects with really cool, interesting people.
During COVID, you reached out and we put together for the people who don't know. So during COVID, everybody had to work online. All of a sudden, they're like, how do we teach people stuff? How do we run workshops? How do we hold meetings, through Zoom, Teams, and all those platforms? And you reached out and said, hey, I think we need to do something about this. Let's put our heads together. And we created a program called Virtually Possible, helping people facilitate these interactions. I think you and I knew each other from LinkedIn. That's it.
Yeah. And then I think you're in the flip chart. And then I saw your YouTube videos. I was like, oh, wow, these are so good. Because you're doing all the icebreaker content back then.
Yeah, exactly. Like how to create more interaction, how to get the energy up in the room. But then you've collaborated with Michael Bungay-Stanier, with Jenny Blake. How did you get in touch with them? Were these people you already knew?
So Jenny Blake, I'm obsessed with her book because her book changed my life. Pivot by Jenny Blake. If you're stuck, read it. I resonated so much with her content, her podcast stuff. And so, yeah, I definitely reached out to her. I paid to join her community. I wrote her a letter. Like it was a letter, like, I would love to be a pivot coach. This is when I was still working, like I had no business. But then we met in New York City. I think I'd only been in business for 3 months. Met in New York City, got along super well. She invited me over for lunch, and Joeri Clark, someone who I've been admiring for years, was there. Like it was just the perfect New York City day. And then, yeah, a month or two later, she's like, hey, I'm going to Paris. Do you want to come and co-facilitate this content? And because Pivot was so, like, I could hand on heart speak to it. I knew the content. So that happened. MBS, we met through the podcast. So he was actually in Brisbane speaking at an event. I was flying back from Singapore overnight. The event was like $2,000. I'm like, I'm not going to spend $2,000. So it's like, well, why don't I just reach out to him and see if he'll do a podcast interview? That's the beauty of podcasts. They still open doors with people. And so we did an in-person podcast. We got along really well. I think I reached out a couple times, and then, yeah, we just became friends. And so even this year he's been to Melbourne. We did a big like walk around Melbourne together. He listens to my podcast. So yeah, they're just,
He's been a guest on your podcast a
he's
couple
been
of
a guest
times.
multiple times. We did a really cool rooftop event that kicked ass in Brisbane. Yeah, like I'm not intentionally scheming or anything. Maybe I'm keeping front of mind. Like I remember hearing someone on a podcast talk about MBS, and I remember recording and going, hey, you got to listen to this. And I sent it to him. So just like, that's how you kind of just keep blipping on people's radars, is just
Yeah.
doing that stuff.
I think so many people get this wrong, and I get this in my world, and I hate it. I hate it when people who are clearly somewhere in my sphere never reach out, never engage, never do anything. But then the moment they need something, they go, "Hey, hey, buddy, let's connect." And I can sniff that from a mile away, and I fucking hate it because I'm of a stay top of mind. But I generally don't go into it thinking that I need something. It's just I really connect with Leanne and I see something which, hey, Leanne talked about that. Let's send her something. I've always done this. A friend of mine, Andy, I learned that from him. He just goes, make deliberate efforts, just stay in touch with people. No agenda.
No agenda. Like, and it's literally like, but I hate when people are like, oh, I thought of you. It's like, well, what were you thinking about? Like, so if someone crosses my mind, I'm like, oh, I was thinking, I'll just bang in the moment. I'll just send them, hey, I thought of you because of this. And it's like real. It's not like this, oh, because every 90 days I've got to contact you crap. It's like, I genuinely thought of you because of this.
That's what I think. So, but I don't think it comes easy to everybody. I think some people maybe are more transactional, or I don't know what
Big
that is.
time. There's a huge, I would say there's like a us and them type of situation where us, we're like, about, yeah, building real relationships. But other people are more about like, tell me like how can I hack the algorithm? How can I cold outreach? There are two different types of people. And the second group kind of tick me off.
But does it work for them though? I don't have an answer.
Actually,
That's why I'm asking you.
to be honest, I actually have a really good friend who I spoke to today, and he is in that group. Like, he does a lot of cold outreach, and he's the most wonderful guy. So I'm allergic to that approach, but yeah, it actually is working for him. So let them. No shade.
But it's a fair question, right? Does it work? Because there might be some people listening thinking, that's great. I'm not the same personality as you. I find it
Yeah.
harder. I need a more formulaic approach to doing this. What would you say to those people? And if they need a bit of a formula or a process?
Well, I mean, I even break my own blueprint in my books. I'm not the right person to talk about following a process. I think it really is about playing to your strengths. And who said this? Cameron Fink. I remember catching up with him in Melbourne for a drink. That rhymes. But he said, the best marketing you can do is the marketing that you're actually going to do. And so I think if whatever your strength is, so like ours is like obviously talking, producing, creating content. So let's go all in on that because that's our natural skill set. But other people, if they need a formula, if they need to just go in on that, but find out the best way of doing it. So I think it's the path of least resistance might be where to start. So you could even argue though, like how effective is what we're doing? Because a lot of it is about, we could talk to all these people, but it's really one or two people that might have a dramatic impact on our life and career or bank balance. So it's like, I don't really talk about return on an investment. I talk about return on luck sometimes.
Fair point. If there was such a thing as having a formula for doing it, I would just say use your creative brain to make connections between things. So when you do see something that you go, hey, that reminds me of Leanne, just take action right away. If it's genuine, if you take a picture, send it to somebody. I like that you said before, I wrote her a letter. I think it was to Jenny Blake. Fantastic. I don't think you always have to do this. I think these can be simple things. be interested, learn to be interested. Now, I think when you get started, maybe it is a bit, maybe it isn't that genuine yet. Just where you just ask questions, just get into the habit of going, "How are you? How's things? I saw that you're off to Nepal. How have you
Mm,
prepared for that?"
yeah.
Just asking questions. If there is such a thing as a formula, I would just say, just be interested. You want to be more interesting, be interested in other people.
I mean, there's so many easy ways as well. If they're an author, just leave them an Amazon review. They'll fall in love with you. Like, or comment on their LinkedIn post. Like, it really isn't that difficult. But I think you're right. I think you and I kind of understand that. It's so obvious to us, and for other people, it isn't. So maybe there is a point in here are some mediums and here's what you can do. But yeah, for me, it's just natural. And think, consider that happens and you just go for it.
Does having a book and a podcast help in this case? 'Cause if you go like, hey, I already have
Massively.
something.
Massively. I mean, the podcast opens the door. If I want to talk to anyone, really, I can just invite them on my show. So that's one thing. The book, yeah, because you're an author, and for some reason, just that tangible item. I was at a conference. This is when in California when I had version 1 of the book. I was out. Someone was speaking. There were a couple of us just outside, just hanging in the couch, and this lady, she was talking to me, but she was like, I think she was being nice. And then something, I think the book came up, like my book, and she's like, "Oh, you wrote that book?" And her eyes were like leaning in, interested, engaged. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So the positioning of a book, yeah, of course.
Does your status elevate a bit when you have a book? Do people go like, ooh, a bit starstruck? Are people starstruck when they meet you?
Sometimes. Yeah, which is weird.
I'm sure
Really
it's
weird. And I
weird.
know a lot about me because of the podcast. And I think it's like the whole parasocial thing, like they know me. And yeah, it is weird. No, it's not often, but yeah, I do get even some clients because like, oh wow, I'm so happy, so lucky to have you on the call. It's like you're paying me for this. Like I'm so honored. Yeah, it's weird.
What I like about a podcast is that I think it's a lot more personal because you have
Mm,
somebody in your ears. I've always heard it's more intimate than a video is.
big time.
But a video can work. You know, people will have seen your video. I was at a conference once where somebody from an insurance company said, "Hey, we watched your video in a meeting," which basically I talk about why insurance companies are crap. And he goes, "Is it okay if we could show this at the conference?" So you go right ahead. But it's literally me poo-pooing on the three things that all insurance companies do wrong. And if you want to
That's so
innovate, here's
fun.
what you should do. So that was fun, but I don't think it was starstruck at all. I think again with a podcast, people feel it's very intimate. You're very close. If you're in somebody's ears for a couple of hours a week, I think that's very intimate. And something about a book, people still. That's why I'm not sure about it yet. There's something people still get weirded out around if you're an
Yeah,
author.
I would run with it now because yeah, maybe in 2, 3 years it's different, but it's still a thing. It's still a thing. But also remember, I know like hundreds of authors now, but when I was working in corporate, I didn't know any authors. We've got a whole new circle of peers, and we think it's normal to have books and podcasts. But the general population don't have podcasts, don't have books. So you just got to remember that.
Yeah, we see. You're right. It's selective attention. Where it's the same for me. Like I'm surrounded by people with millions and millions of views on their videos. It's like everybody's a competitor all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly.
When they're not. Is it a podcast for everybody? I know you said it's a great way to at least connect with people and invite people. But
No, like, and if was starting out again, I'd probably go all in on YouTube, to be honest, for sure. Like, I was listening to Chad Littlefield, because he basically did the same thing I did with like facilitation, but he did it on YouTube and just answered questions, and he's had like dramatic growth and impact because obviously Google, you're a YouTuber, you understand. So I'd probably go all in on YouTube. Podcasting isn't for everyone. No, and even I don't even know like how many podcasts are there out in the world now. When I started mine in 2019, there weren't that many. There weren't many celebrities podcasting. It was still like the Wild West. But now it's very difficult. People have kind of settled into their favorite shows. It's tough.
yeah, very competitive market. I think it's the same with YouTube. I think YouTube has changed a lot. I think it's much harder to break through
Yeah.
and to get attention there. So for anybody, if anybody listening is thinking, hey, I am going to start my own little business, whatever that is, it might be consultant, it might be coach, it might be creative. If you would start again in terms of content, what would you do? So book, podcast, videos, whatever. What would you do? You said,
Eyeball, like
yeah,
right now,
right now.
I would actually go all in on email lists to be on Substack. I would be building my audience on and getting email addresses. I left that too late even with my podcast. Like I had the Facebook group going before I even had the email. The email list is where sales actually occur. And people email is still gold. So anything that can drive an email capture would be important. And even as I say that now, I'm kind of a hypocrite because I'm still not doing lead magnets. I'm still not encouraging that growth. But it is, out of everything that I do, like the best results have always been via email. LinkedIn, I've fallen a bit out of love. I'm actually really in love with Substack now. So I'm spending more time there. And LinkedIn, just because of the AI slop, the algorithms change. I'm still seeing stuff from 3 weeks ago. But I think the biggest thing is the relationship. So I would just be meeting, like catching up with people every single day in those first 90 days, telling them what I do, getting emails, getting referrals, because that's, again, the quickest way to actually make income. Content is a long game. It's a long game. It's not going to get you direct results.
I think too many people get that wrong. Those two things. One, they forget it is, or they don't know it's a long game. They think it's so much easier, but it's a great video. I always tell people the same thing. I've told this in so many podcasts. Some people tell me, well, what if I create an amazing video? The video is so good, but nobody watches it. I always go, nobody gives a shit about your content. And they really don't. Like, you have to make a connection and do that long term, win email by email on that list. And that's how you build trust over a long time. It's a marathon.
It's worse than a marathon because there's no end point.
Is there no end point, though?
What's the end point?
The end point is getting paid to talk.
But then you still have to keep going. I mean, look at Seth Godin. He does his blog every single day. Look at Alan Weiss every week. MBS, you name Brené Brown. Like they're all constantly pushing out books, constantly out in the public square. There's no there.
Do you think they enjoy that? Or do you think they are feeding the beast?
Both. What if you don't? I mean, like, what if you don't bring out a new album? I mean, you kind of, and you want to remain relevant, you have to continue building, like bringing stuff out. I mean, unless you're Simon Sinek, you can just relax on why. But yeah, look, I think it's probably both. I think that they like it and then they'll often do it. You've just got to keep innovating and producing, I would say, to be someone that people will follow.
So if somebody here starts or just started doing their own thing and they say, but I really don't want to create content, what would you say to that?
That's okay, actually, because I also have peers that I know that are really successful and they don't do content at all. But what they do is they go, they're fearless in calling people, setting meetings. They deliver kick-ass work. They follow up on that. Their business structure is so good. So that it is possible. It's absolutely possible. I mean, I know a couple of people that do that, but again, I quote Alan Weiss a lot, but it is a relationship business. So that's the key thing. And so how are you building those relationships and remaining in touch and being front of mind? What events are you hosting? It doesn't have to all be content. Content is, like, you and I, obviously we love it. So we are on here, but you can be profitable, you can be successful without it. And sometimes social media can be a distraction and there's so many people on there. So yeah, I think that's fine. That's good self-awareness, but just figure out what are you going to do then? Like, what are your other strategies to get business?
One of my friends is an HR professional and just pays a lot of money for a private club where all the C-suite hang out. That's it.
Perfect.
That's what he does. Doesn't create any content. That's just what he spends money on. So there are definitely other ways.
Yeah.
The second point I was going to highlight before is you mentioned the email list. I'm the same. So Mark, my buddy, has been telling me for years, like, get your email list ready, work on your email list. I was like, yeah, I'll do it one day whenever I've got time. And now I'm like, why did I not start this 10 years ago?
I know.
Why did I not do this?
I know. But it's also like, why didn't I buy property 10 years ago? Like, why, there's all this, like, and what's that Chinese phrase? Start growing that tree today, plant the tree today.
Or the best time to plant a tree
20 years ago.
is today or like yesterday or something like that. The best time is now or something.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever was in the past doesn't really matter. Just start now. So anybody listening, start an email list. And like with content, it's a long game. I wouldn't worry too much about the absolute numbers. Even if you have 8 people on your email list, give those 8 people the best you have in terms of your ideas and your support. And that's how you grow. Too many people are too hung up on numbers. Do numbers excite you? So as in,
no,
I know people who get really thrown off when their video gets no more than X views.
It kind of confuses me because I'm like, why did that idea get so much attention and the actual good idea that I thought was worth it doesn't? It's confusing. Email open rates are kind of really, the Substack data set isn't very good. I do look at unsubscribes kind of tick me off, but That's part of publishing every week. You're going to get unsubscribes. You got to get used to that. I don't really look at stats on podcasts or anything like that. The only stats that really matter to me are probably like the finance stats, revenue, cash flow, profit. Yeah.
It's important. I think a lot of people are afraid to look at those things, and they are super important. So learn to look at numbers. A lot of my dad always said the easiest way to tell whether a business is about to go belly up is if they have no ideas about their numbers. They have no idea where the
Yeah.
revenue comes from and how well they're doing, what their costs are.
Mm,
It's a horrible
that's
thing.
good advice.
Did you ever worry about business? So because you've been through 2020, it's a bit of a, for at least in Europe right now, it's a pretty rough time.
What I find fascinating about this game is you can be doing really well, right? And then you have a month where you're not getting inquiries, you haven't done any proposals, you delivered the work. And like, honestly, in the space of like, you could be on a Tuesday feeling great. And then on Wednesday, you're like, oh my gosh, what the heck am I going to do? So, of course, it always oscillates. And it's been a really important reminder for me is even if I am busy delivering work, gosh, keep marketing, keep responding, keep reaching out to people. That's the challenge, is not being so confident that you're all set. Because like I said, you can't rest on your laurels. You always have to being proactive. But it's hard when you think, oh, I'm okay, I'm all good. But yeah, I mean, even in a space of a day, I could like flutter between all those emotions. Some of it's irrational, some of it is real.
Do you ever want to quit and just say like, screw this, I'm going to go back to a job?
No, I don't like being my own manager, so I can't imagine anyone else enjoying being my manager. I just can't rein even myself in, so I just don't think I could do it.
Is this
I
journey for everybody then, or not?
No,
Is it
it's
only
not.
for a certain type of
And I'm
person?
so grateful that we have people that are stable in our society that can do normal jobs. Like, thank goodness there's baristas and there's bus drivers, there's pilots, there's police. Like, thank goodness teachers. Yeah, I'm so grateful that we're all so different, because if all of society were like us, I don't know what it would be like. I'm very grateful for people that are stable and need certainty and all that. Like, thank you. Thank you for your service.
On behalf of all of us here at the Solar Source, thank you for your service, beautiful people. I have this with Tremaine, with my wife. You know, the ups and downs of running your own business, where sometimes she'll go, wait, so you just made it in a couple of weeks what I make in a couple of months? I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I have months where it doesn't go that well. It's the other way around. So
Exactly.
she loves the stability. I don't think she would want to do what I do. And maybe
Yeah,
it's a good thing. We all need people around us to counterbalance the
I'm with
madness that
you.
we bring.
Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of madness, I've got a lightning round for you on the post-it.
Whoa.
Are you ready for the lightning
I don't
round?
think I'm ready, but I'll give it a shot.
The lightning round.
Ready or not, here we go. Beer or champagne?
Champagne.
How do you recharge?
Running.
The biggest lesson you've gotten from a bad collaboration?
You should have noticed how you were feeling going into it, because the signs were there. Listen to yourself.
Signs were there. What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
I have no idea what you do, but I'm going to refer you to someone anyway. Oh, and she's very Australian. I was like, that is the best compliment. Thank you.
Australian. I've never gotten that one because I'm very Dutch. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, you are very Dutch.
Podcast or YouTube?
Podcast.
What scares you the most right now?
Altitude in Nepal, and how I'm going to react to that.
What is a skill you want to build next year or obtain?
Oh, I keep talking about getting my auctioneer's license because I talk so fast. And I also want to do a stand-up comedy set. So one of those two.
Mix the two together.
That'd actually be great together.
Nobody would understand it, but I think it'd be great.
But
All
they'll
right,
laugh.
last question in the lightning round. What is your go-to productivity hack?
I think just write a list just write a list with a pen and have it right in front of you, and just have that index card as your anchor. That's so simple, but that's it for me. Because sometimes I get distracted, and then you go, oh, that's the list. And it brings me back.
Nice old school physical index cards for people born after 1990. An index card is a small hard piece of paper with a couple of lines on it you can hold in your hand. Anybody starting their solopreneur journey, starting their self-employed journey, whatever you want to call yourself. We talked a bit about choosing goals and having activities, collaborations, community, content. What is one big top tip you would have for anybody right now going, okay, either got laid off, I got pushed out, or I want to do something for myself. I'm ready to do my own thing.
Give it a crack and give yourself a time frame for it to go live. But also, again, talking kind of channeling Alan Weiss, there's something here about being fearless and not worrying what people think. I think that was the hardest part when I left corporate is I'm so indoctrinated in the world of like having permission to say things. And so often though that can really dumb down your message and make you vanilla. So really just like go all in on who you are, figure it out. You'll figure that out as you start producing more and having more conversations. But if that's really what you want to do, yeah, Joeri, listen to Joeri's show because he'll talk through like the highs and the lows as well. But get yourself some great friend tours. Like I've got, Joeri and I've been friends for years. It's a friend that is a mentor. It's just a portmanteau of the two words together. What I love about friend tours is like that you kind of like we're at the same level. We're peers. We're not competitors. But we can share openly and on that. And so you're not alone. I've never really felt alone because I've had people like you on the voice notes, on Zoom.
Going solo, but never alone. That's kind of what I want to do with this as well. I just want to, share stories and just have conversations with other people doing their own thing. And then those little snippets of knowledge and wisdom will be passed on to whoever's listening. Where can people find you, Leanne Hughes?
Yeah, so LinkedIn would be great. LeanneHughes.com is my website. Podcast we've spoken about before, first time facilitator, Leanne on Demand. And my Substack is called Work Fame. So that's where you find my weekly writing every Friday.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for spending time with me. We haven't spoken for a while. I was very excited.
No, not live like this. It's been
live.
awesome.
And I see we're pretty matchy in a way. We have a good color spectrum. You got a more, what is it like? Is that like an amber green you're wearing? I'm wearing like a pastel green. You got a green wall behind you. It's almost like we agreed to do this, but not at all. Coincidence. Well, thank you so much. I hope this was fun for you.
It was super fun. Thank you, Joeri, for hosting a great conversation. I loved all the different topics we explored. And say hi to Tremaine for me.
Before I leave you with my thoughts, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to Leanne Hughes for being part of this conversation and for sharing so generously. So here are a couple of thoughts I want to leave you with. How are you building connections into your work? Are you waiting for these opportunities to appear, or are you actively seeking them out through community and through conversations and connections? Because one thing that this conversation reminded me of is just because you work for yourself, that doesn't mean you have to do this all alone. And often the biggest opportunities come from the connections that you make and the people you stay in touch with over the years. Anyway, make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.